welcome back to Yum Paleo. Today what we're going to do is beef, spinach and mushroom patties. So what I've got here, I've got 2 pounds of beef mince. I've got a handful of spinach which I have already chopped up to put into the patties, and also I've used 12 button mushrooms here, and they're all chopped up into small cubes as well. Also we're going to use 2 eggs, and we've got here homemade tomato paleo sauce, which is optional and I'm going to serve at the end once they're cooked. And over here we've got 6 sweet potatoes which I have just peeled, so I'm going to start by chopping these up. What I have done behind me just before we started filming is I've put on a pot of water to boil. So do that now, and then all I'm going to do is chop up these sweet potatoes so they can start boiling while I'm making the patties. So I'm doing the dish today for 4 people, and we're treating ourselves and having it as a lunch dish, but you can also do this as a dinner as well. When we do our mash, I'm going to do with these some coconut milk, but we'll get onto that a bit later on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop these into the pot to boil away. So just be careful when you put these in not to splash yourself with the boiling water. Perfect. I'm going to turn them up a wee bit so they're on about a medium heat. Good. Okay, so over here we've got our fry pan. I'm going to turn mine on just to heat up. And I've got some olive oil here. We're just going to drizzle a bit of olive oil into the pan. Spread that around. Good. I'm going to wait for that to heat up a little bit more. What we're going to do is we're going to pop our mushrooms into this, just so they're cooked slightly before we put them into our patties. So that's starting to warm up nicely. In they go. Now another ingredient you can put in with your mushroom is onion. I have chosen not to, but to give it a bit more flavour you can do that. Good. Just make sure these are on low because you don't want them burning. We just want them to slightly brown up a wee bit, not good. So I'll let them go with the lid on. I'm going to turn them down slightly, just so they're just cooking, and we're going to make a start on our patties. So what I've got in here is all my mince. What we're going to do is we're going to start by whisking these 2 eggs. Now I'm just going to do it with a fork. So they're all whisked up. Right, so what we're going to do, give those a quick toss, because they don't actually need to be in here that long. Good. So what I'm going to do is going to leave them in here because it's slightly a bit bigger bowl. Pop in your whisked egg on top of your beef. Also in goes your spinach. Perfect. And just while we're waiting for the last of the mushrooms to finish, get in there with your hands and give it a good mix around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to add a wee bit of pepper to this. I'm just going to wash my hand. So, and some ground pepper. I'm just going to let that sit for a minute. You're going to come back to your mushrooms and you're going to stir them. Whew. Right. So those are done. So, turn off your pan now. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop them straight into our mix. So in they go. So once all those mushrooms are in there, you might want to let the mushrooms cool a wee bit before you stick your hands in there and mix it up. Unless you're going to use a spatula or some kind of mixing spoon or anything like that, because they will be quite hot coming straight off that pan. Right, I'm going to get in there with my hands again. Good, so next step is we're going to make them into nice round patties. So, when you do this, make sure you have wet hands, and then the mix won't stick to your fingers quite as much. Right, I've got a plate here which I'm going to pop them onto. So, totally up to you how big you want to do them. I'm going to do them just a bit bigger than bite size, and I don't want them to be too fat. So this mix should make quite a few. So just like that, and in they go. So I'm going to carry on and make the rest of them. So I'll see you back here in about 5 minutes once I've made them all. Do remember that your sweet potato is boiling, so keep an eye on that, and we'll see you back here shortly. Alright, okay, now that I've made all my patties, what we're going to do is we're going to start cooking them. So they should only take about 4 minutes on each side. So what I've done here is I've turned our pan on to heat up. What I'm going to do is very carefully pop them in. Now do be careful of the oil. Good, so they're in there. Pop those, we'll do them in the next lot. Okay, so just make sure that these don't stick to the bottom. Good. So we're going to aim to flip them after about 3 minutes. Now I haven't made them too thick solely for being 3 minutes. We want them to cook right through. So the fatter they are, the longer they will take. And I mean, you can push down on them just a little bit so they flatten out, but not hard because we don't want them to split and burst. Good. So I'm going to leave these for a couple more minutes, then we're going to flip them and let them go for 3 minutes on the other side, and that's how easy it is. So I'll see you soon when I turn these over. Right, so I'm just turning over the patties now, Good. So they're cooking away nicely. What we're going to do now is go over and check on our sweet potato. So good way to check that they're cooked is if you can stick a knife in and it comes out cleanly, they're nice and soft, they're cooked. So these ones are, so I'm just going to drain them. And be careful when you do this, steam, face and hands. You don't get your face too over it. Right, so what I've got here is I've got some coconut milk. What I'm going to do, grab our masher, going to put in a tiny bit of coconut milk. I'm also going to put in a wee bit of pepper. Right, and we're going to mash this up. Perfect, so that's done. Right, and we're just going back to check on these. Give them another pat down. Again, not too hard. Right, I'm going to leave these another minute and then we're going to take them out and we're going to serve. Okay, so we're ready to serve. So, there we have it. So, beef, spinach and mushroom patties with kurma mash or sweet potato. I hope you enjoy that and I'll see you next time for another recipe.